If you're a newlywed and thinking of buying your first unit, but can't decide between a resale HDB and a smaller resale condo, then this is the video for you. Maybe you're worried that a condo is too expensive and asking yourself, is it even worth it? Or maybe you feel that all the condos you can afford are only the small ones, and again asking yourself, is it even worth it? In this video, we'll talk about all that. Hello friends, welcome back to the channel. My name is Daryl, and in this channel we demystify real estate topics and make them digestible to the layman. Remember to like and subscribe for more unbiased property videos that will help you with your purchase. So if you're anything like the situation we talked about earlier, you'd probably have friends and family coming up to you saying,
"See how HDB so expensive, like that myself buy condo already."
And now you're stuck in this dilemma. Is it true that a condo is really better than a HDB? Are the returns really better? Is it really worth it? And what are the other things that you need to consider that people have not talked to you about? So it's not hard to imagine why somebody may come up to you and tell you that buying a private condo is a better investment than buying a HDB unit. Well, first and foremost, the private market is a lot less tightly regulated than the HDB market in terms of price control and cooling measures. And secondly, it is not uncommon on platforms like this to see videos of people making 300, 400 or even 500k from a private property purchase in just a few years' time. There are indeed many people who have made their first pot of gold through buying a private property, but we need to bear in mind that this is only part of the picture. There are many others as well who have actually lost money or maybe bought a private property but experienced little or no capital appreciation. And even for those who have made money, the top line figures like 400k or 500k typically don't reflect the total cost of ownership, which includes the higher cost and capital of owning a private property. This includes things like a higher down payment, a higher stamp duty, a higher interest rate, and as well as maybe condo maintenance fees. I'm not saying that buying a private property is bad at all. I've seen many examples of people making a decent profit in a few years only. But I think what's important is that you should be able to arm yourself with the knowledge that enables you to answer the question, is this the best option for you? So by the end of this video, you will get a better understanding of what it entails to own a private property as well as the HDB unit so that you can make a better decision of what is a better option for you. So in order to understand whether a HDB or a small condo is better, we first need to spend some time looking into the profiles of our buyers and what sort of units they are considering. The profile of the couple is that they are a newlywed in their late 20s and early 30s, making about 10k to 12k a month, and of course because they are in this situation, they are also eligible to buy a HDB unit. Let's also look at some of the examples of a HDB flat and a condo that they are considering. The HDB option that they are considering is this unit here at Tampines. It is a 4-room and is asking for 780k. It is about 5 years old presently. However, since the price of this unit is almost at 800k already, the friends and family of this couple have told them to consider a condo instead, since after all it is just a small top-up. Obviously, the friends and family of this couple are not as meticulous as DF Property, and that's why they did not help him to fully break down all the pros and cons. So that's why he needs to stay tuned to the end of this video to understand more. After looking around for the condo option, they are also considering a unit here at Tampines called the Alps Residences. The Alps Residence TOP'd in 2019 as well, making it 5 years old too. It is developed by MCC Land and has a total of 626 units. In terms of the unit, it's a 2-bed and 2-bath and 700 square feet. 700 square feet is not as big compared to the 1000 square foot that they would get if they were to buy a 4-room HDB. So here comes the main dilemma. Besides the price difference, this condo only offers them 700 square feet. It is a big difference compared to the 1000 over square feet that they would get if they were to buy a 4-room HDB flat. The couple did not want to overstretch themselves and go above 1.2 million, and that is why they were not able to find a suitable 3-bedder condo that would be able to match the size of their 4-room HDB option. The couple also knew if that they were willing to get an older project or one in a less ideal location, they would be able to get a 3-bedder within their budget. But they ultimately decided against it because of the risk of lease decay. In order to understand whether a resale HDB or a small condo is better for us, we first need to understand all the different elements that comes with buying, owning and selling these two asset types. So we will evaluate this in 3 sections. The first section is the financial section, the second section is the livability section, and the third section is the exit section. When it comes to financials, we will look at everything money related, in terms of buying and owning. So in terms of upfront cost, we first have the down payment and the buyer's stamp duty. For a HDB option, assuming that we take a HDB loan with a minimum down payment of 20%, for the specific unit that the couple was considering earlier, that will be 156k. The buyer's stamp duty will be 18k. That brings the total upfront cost to 174k. This can be supplemented with grants, which we will talk about later. For the condo option, the minimum down payment will be 25% as it is a bank loan and is the only option. That will make it to be 275k. Minimally, 5% of the purchase price needs to be in cash. The buyer's stamp duty will be 28.8k. That brings the total upfront cost of the condo to be 303.8k. For a couple making a combined income of 10 to 12k, their total HDB resale grants will be 80k. For a condo, since it is a private option, there will be no grants at all. In terms of the monthly installment, the HDB option will be 2.8k a month, while the condo option will be 3.5k a month. In HDB, you have to pay a conservancy fee, which is about $80 a month. If you own a car, season parking will typically be about $100 a month. In a condo, for a two-bedder, the maintenance fee will be approximately $300 a month. This depends largely on the project you buy and the size of your unit. For a resale HDB, since the couple is making less than 14k a month, they qualify for a HDB loan, so they have the option of either taking a HDB loan or a bank loan. A HDB loan allows for less down payment, does not require a cash component, and has a fixed interest of 2.6%. If you want to understand the differences between a HDB loan and a bank loan in more detail, you can check out my video up here. For a condo, you only have the option of a bank loan. When it comes to livability, we will look at some of the elements that comes with physically staying in each of the two unit types. For a resale HDB units, with the budget, you can get a 4-room with 3 bedrooms. That is typically about 1,000 square feet. This is where the HDB unit really shines. Because if you were to go with a condo option, assuming you don't get something extremely old or with any major red flags, with a budget of 1.2 million, you can probably only get up to a 2-bed and 2-bath unit in today's market, and that would probably be about 700 square feet or largest 800 square feet. If you are in the same situation as a couple here and thinking of getting a small condo, since the square footage will be very small, the layout will be very, very important. So you will need to spend time choosing a layout that optimizes the small square footage that makes it livable for your family. Besides just livability for your own family, choosing an efficient layout is very key as well when we talk about our exit strategy. This will help your unit stand out against all the other two-bedders in the market and give it a higher chance of commanding a premium when you eventually exit the market and try to sell your two-bedder. This is in contrast to selecting a HDB unit. Most HDB 4-rooms are actually very livable and don't have any major red flags. The same cannot be said for condo options, and that is why going with the condo option will add an element of risk and effort. In terms of facilities, a HDB will not have any besides the neighbouring public amenities. A condo will have the usual stuff like security, and depending on your project, probably a pool, gym, barbecue pit, and so on. The last section we will evaluate is the exit. These are typically the factors buyers would only think about when planning to sell the unit. However, thinking about exit strategy is extremely important. In fact, we should think about the exit strategy even before the purchase. The first factor is the flexibility of the exit. For a HDB unit, you will have to fulfill the 5 years MOP or minimum occupancy period. A condo, on the other hand, does not have a 5-year MOP. However, it does have the concept of a seller stamp duty, or what we call SSD. SSD was introduced in 2010 as part of the cooling measures. This was to prevent flipping and speculation of units, which allowed some people to make hundreds of $1,000s over the course of a few months and even a few days. In short, the SSD is a penalty that you will need to pay if you sell your property within the first 3 years of purchase. The first year is a 12% penalty on a sales price, the second year is 8%, the third year is 4%, and after that there is no more penalty. If you plan to keep this unit and own a second unit in future, buying a condo allows you to decouple in the future. Decoupling means removing either your name or your spouse's name from the property. This allows you to then buy a second private unit without paying an additional buyer stamp duty or ABSD, which is currently 17%. For a HDB, you can do something similar using what we call the EO method. You can identify either you or your spouse as the essential occupier of the unit. That will allow you to remove your name after the 5 years MOP and move on to buy a private property without having to pay the ABSD. The first downside is you cannot use the EO CPF to pay for the HDB unit. The second downside is that your overall loan quantum will be reduced as your EO's income cannot be taken as part of the income assessment. A big disclaimer here is that either the decoupling strategy or the EO strategy is very dependent on government regulation during the time of execution. If the government decides to change the rules, then you will be affected as well. In terms of reversibility, when you sell your HDB after MOP in 5 years, you can buy a condo after that. The same is not true for a condo, however. As the couple is less than 55 years old, if they were to sell their condo, they will still need to wait a 15-month wait-out period before they can enter into a HDB unit. During these 15 months, they will either need to rent or maybe find somewhere else to stay, such as staying with their parents. This 15 months is called the wait-out period and was introduced as part of the government's cooling measures in 2022. In terms of risk, a HDB unit is definitely much less risky. It is a lot harder to go wrong with a resale HDB unit selection in terms of project, layout selection, and entry price. Things are generally more consistent. Furthermore, you also have the 80k worth of grants that can act as a buffer. A resale condo, on the other hand, is a very different story. There are many different permutations in terms of location, layout, tenure, project size, and track records. Besides having the risk of your property not being able to appreciate when you sell it, there is also a very large risk of you actually losing money. So a lot more caution and thought needs to be put in here. Now let's get into the weed as we talk about capital appreciation and ROI. We first need to calculate an average annual return so that we can do a very simple forecast. Using 20 years worth of data for a private index excluding landed, it shows a return of 5.7 a year. With a HDB index, over the same time period, it shows a 5.1% appreciation per year. So let's use these figures to calculate our expected capital appreciation in 5 years' time. We use 5 years because it is the minimum occupancy period of a HDB unit and simply to keep it apple and apple comparison. Using a 5.7% and 5.1% annual return estimate for both, we have a capital appreciation of 351k for the condo and 220k for the HDB in 5 years. For the HDB option, your grants will be returned to your CPF OA as well, so we can count it into your returns too, bringing your HDB returns up to 300k. Capital appreciation is very important when it comes to determining between a HDB and a small condo, but it is not the only component. Looking at capital appreciation is only part of the equation. We need to think about your return on investment, that is to say how much you actually make in relation to how much capital that you need to put in. This is the part that not many people talk about and will help you to unpack the myth of capital appreciation a little more. Still using the same example that we talked about earlier, for the unit at the Alps Residences, if your capital appreciation is 351k in 5 years, that will bring your selling price in 5 years to 1.45 million, up from your purchase price of 1.1 million. After 5 years of paying your mortgage, and all things constant, your amount of outstanding loan will be 733k. When you sell your unit for 1.45 million, you will have to return the loan outstanding of 733k to the bank, bringing your sales proceeds to 716k. To keep things a little bit more simple, let's ignore what needs to be returned to the CPF for now. So you may think that that's a very sizable return. Okay, but now let's look a bit deeper. You also need to look at your capital injected, because some of these 716k is actually your own money to begin with. Factoring in your down payment, stamp duty, condo maintenance fee, monthly installments, and the 2% agent fee that you will need to pay when you eventually sell your unit, your total capital injected will be 558k after 5 years. Let's now look at our net profit by reconciling our sales proceeds with our capital injected. After 5 years, our net profit will be 115k. You're now probably thinking that,
hey, this number is a little low.
Okay, let's talk about that later. In short, over 5 years, we have spent a total of 558k to generate 158k of profit. Using a simple division, that is 28% overall returns, and on average 5.6% returns per annum, or 31k per year. For a HDB option, the net profit will be 251k. This is derived from 458k of sales proceeds minus the 287k of capital injected and adding back the 80k of grants that HDB gives you. That is a staggering 87% return. Using a simple division, that translates to about 17% per annum and about 50k per year. The first thing that strikes us when looking at the numbers is that the condo returns of 158k does not seem that good after all when compared to the HDB returns of 251k. So this is because we are using the average condo returns of 5.7%. And again, this is only the average. I have seen examples of condos making much more than this. Ultimately, it is only a forecast and it's very dependent on the percentage that you use. After all, nobody has a crystal ball that is able to forecast how much your specific unit will make in 5 to 10 years time. So different private projects and different units appreciate very differently. So that again puts the emphasis on choosing the right layout in the right unit in the right project when it comes to private property. The second point here is that even if a condo performs better than HDB in paper gains, as is the case here, that does not mean that the HDB is ineffective in generating returns. In fact, a good HDB unit is actually a very good way of generating returns for two reasons. Firstly, when you purchase a HDB unit, assuming that you are eligible, you will receive some HDB grants. Upon selling of the unit, these grants will be returned to your CPF OA account and can be used again for your next property purchase. In terms of risk, these grants help to de-risk you, but they also help to bump up your returns very quickly. As you can see from the example here, this couple would have gotten 80k of grants with almost no risk taken at all. Secondly, the total cost of ownership for a condo is a lot higher after you factor in the higher down payment, the higher stamp duty, more interest, and as well the more expensive agent fee when you sell it. So you can disagree with my 5% forecast of where a condo will go in 5 years, but it's very hard to disagree with all these hidden costs that comes along with owning a condo. So all in all, choosing the right HDB can actually be a good vehicle to help you build your first pot of gold that may potentially help you to upgrade to a condo after 5 years if you choose to do so. So we come back again to the question of whether a HDB or a condo is better for a first property and what you as a buyer can do. So I would actually not be so quick to jump to the conclusion that a condo is not as good. The spread of returns for a condo is much higher than the spread of returns for a resale HDB. So in short, for the condo route, the returns and the rewards can be much higher, but as the saying goes, so are the risks that are associated with it. Being able to decide whether a HDB or a small condo is better for you is not just dependent on the units actually, it's dependent on yourself. So HDB could be a bad choice for somebody else, but maybe could be a good choice for you. You will need to take into consideration both what we talked about earlier, the comparison between the two asset types, but also your own personal circumstances. So in short, I would suggest a small condo may be more suitable for you if you meet the following criteria. The first is that you're able to afford it without overstretching yourself. The second is that you and your spouse are comfortable with a smaller space and maybe are open to upgrading in the near future. The third is that you do not mind spending time and effort to look out for a good layout in a good unit in a good project to ensure that your gains are maximized. The fourth is that you have a higher overall risk appetite. The fifth is that you are one of those that enjoys the lifestyle and the facilities that a condo may offer. The sixth is that you feel that the 5-year MOP of a resale condo may tie you down and you may want to move on to bigger things faster and sooner. The seventh is that you're comfortable with the fact that you may not be able to reverse your decision and move back to a HDB so soon because of the 15-month wait out that you need to fulfill after buying and selling a condo. On the flip side, maybe you are more suitable for a resale HDB if you meet the following requirements. Firstly, you foresee yourself being overstretched by the hefty down payment and the larger monthly installment of a condo. The second is that you see your house more as a roof over your head rather than an investment, and hence do not want to commit so much funds into it. The third is that you may prefer to deploy your capital elsewhere, for example maybe a business or your own investments that you feel can generate a higher returns. The fourth is that the space is very important to you. The fifth is that you generally have a lower risk appetite. The sixth is that you want to play it safe for now and leverage on the HDB grants to help you to grow your savings. Only when you feel ready, you may consider moving into a condo, but for now, you don't see a rush. But overall, I don't see an issue with HDB prices reaching a high of 800k or even $1 million actually. Others may be startled when they see such a number because in the past, you could get a decent HDB unit for a mere few hundred K. Due to inflation, however, which is something out of our control, the price of everything has been going up, including the prices of resale HDB. So it's important for us to update our mindset to keep up with the changing times. So that wraps up another video. I hope you found it useful. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment and share. See you in the next video. Ciao.